1.
2.
Cheese.
4.
5. 6.
Change is inevitable and happens in the world every day. Watching the news is a great way to keep up with the current events that happen around us. If you don't like watching the news, reading the news is also a helpful tool to get up to date with our society. You can read the news on an internet site or even in the newspaper. A great internet site to go to is CNN.com. There are tons of different current events topics to choose from for any type of person. A current event that caught my attention was Obama signing short-term funding. President Barack Obama signed a short-term funding extension on Saturday, which cuts spending by $2 billion. This will last through next Friday, April 15th. The Senate immediately passed the extension on a voice vote. In Obama's weekly address, the president explained that the agreement meant that small businesses can get the loans they need, families can get the mortgages they applied for, people can visit national parks and museums, and paychecks, including those for military, will be delivered on time. Negotiators restricted days of frantic closed-door talks and public accusation by agreeing on a framework for a package of $38.5 billion in spending cuts, covering the rest of the fiscal year, which expires September 30th. The budget deal still needs to pass in both houses, with the expectation that lawmakers will approve it and the president will sign it before the short-term funding measure expires. The House is scheduled to begin considering the budget deal on Monday, with a vote slated for Wednesday. The Senate would take up the bill at some point after that. A GOP push to strip $317 million in federal funding from Planned Parenthood failed. Democrats also turned back Republican attempts to get federal dollars currently set aside for family planning and women's health turned into block grants for states. Such a move would have given governors and state legislators more ability to cut funding services proposed by conservatives. Obama praised the agreement, calling the cuts painful but necessary to secure the country's economic future. Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid called the deal difficult but important for the country. Nevertheless, the furious, down-to-the-wire talks portend even tougher rounds of the negotiations when Congress takes up an increase in the nation's debt ceiling and the fiscal year 2012 budget in the months ahead. If the negotiations had failed, approximately 800,000 government workers would have been furloughed. A range of government services would have come to a halt. Obama noted earlier in the week that the mechanism of shutting down government operations had already started. An inability to reach a deal would have hurt federal workers, people who rely on government services, and the nation's broader economic recovery. Friday's agreement to slash $38.5 billion in spending comes on top of two previous funding extensions that included $10 billion in cuts. Republicans, under pressure from the conservative Tea Party movement to reduce the size of the government, blame Democrats for failing to pass a fiscal 2011 budget last year when they controlled both the Senate and the House. They also say Obama and his party are ignoring the peril of rising federal deficits and the national debt. Democrats call the $61 billion in cuts initially pushed by the Republicans extreme and argue reductions of that scale would have harmed the economic recovery while damaging education and innovation programs essential for continued growth. The budget brinkmanship showed the political stakes of the situation, with both parties trying to depict the other as unwilling to do what's right for the country. Democrats said that the Republican drive to defund Planned Parenthood proves the GOP is fixed on abortion and other issues related to women's health. Republicans repeatedly insisted that the size of spending reductions was the main cause of the dispute in recent days. In conclusion, it's pretty important to be aware of what the government is planning on cutting, just in case you're affected by the cuts. The story really proves that everyone should be conscious of what's going on in the world. Start catching up on the world today. Grab a newspaper. Houston Chronicle is an awesome newspaper to read.